I'm Shantae.
I'm Sonora.
And I'm Jasmine.
In the last 30 days, we have been in pain watching our brothers and sisters lose their life to police brutality.
Ahmaud Arbery was shot while exercising.
Breonna Taylor was shot multiple times in her own bed.
And George Floyd's life was stolen from us by excessive force.
We have decided enough is enough.
We are sad, broken, and angry at a world who would rather kneel on our necks than stand up for our lives. That being said, protesting and making the problem apparent is only the first step.
So what do we do when the protests are done? And when news coverage inevitably no longer sees us as worthy coverage, and Black lives are no longer a trend?
You can vote, you can keep educating yourself, and you can demand change from your policy makers. Don't know what change to ask for? Well, we've got you covered.
Here are 22 ideas for policy changes that you can demand from your representatives.
Psychological bias testing for incoming and current officers with continued testing every 10 years.
Pre-hire social media vetting of police officers to monitor explicit bias.
Police training on procedural, institutional, explicit, and implicit biases.
Police training on community and relationship-based policing techniques.
Mandatory counseling for police officers once a week.
Required police license with civilian review boards.
Demilitarized police attire. Police don't need to look like SWAT team members doing day-to-day duties.
Body cameras. Make them mandatory to wear, and mandatory that they're turned on at the start of every single encounter.
Car cameras. Dash cams on all four sides of the vehicle that record the entire time the officer is on duty.
Mandatory use of de-escalation and non-violent techniques prior to the violent methods.
Officers should be required to give notice before using lethal force and require officers to call out and stop other officers from using excessive force.
Put mediation teams on the street comprised of reformed criminals.
Change our police to peace officers.
Demilitarize the fucking police. Teams of independent prosecutors with jurisdiction dedicated to prosecuting wrongful and biased interactions with police officers.
A new president with a rhetoric of love instead of hate.
Explicitly ban racist policing.
Set a national standard and create a definition of what constitutes excessive force. You can't solve a problem that isn't defined.
Evaluate policymakers, judges, and all elected officials' biases and make it public during the election process. This will help to prevent biased policies.
Require that all policies be evaluated for potential racial disparities and impacts that they could have on communities of color.
Require that officers must notify people of their right to refuse a search if there isn't a warrant.
Require officers to obtain consent on camera or through writing before conducting non-warranted searches.
Mandatory collection of transparent, public, and searchable data online composed of stop and frisk, summons, use of force, arrests, and killings, including all relevant information, including race, gender, time, place, etc. That's what we have so far.
Do you have any ideas?
Let us know down below.
Let's have a conversation. Exist,
resist,
and put up your fist.
Black Lives Matter.